wherever slopes are steep, there is a chance they will fail. Landslides cause injuries, property damage, and in some cases, death. Welcome back to Explore. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the biggest landslides caught on camera. Let's begin. Number 10. Landslide cuts off freeway. On April 25, 2010, tragedy struck when a landslide occurred on a highway in Taiwan, claiming the lives of 4 people. The landslide would be caused by a large amount of dirt that buried both directions of the highway, and unfortunately 4 cars were buried under the rumble. This disaster was a stark reminder of the devastating power of nature. The possible causes of the landslide would be analyzed, and it was found that poor anchorage on the hillside was to blame. Interestingly, there had been no rain at the time of the collapse, and no earthquake was recorded, leaving experts puzzled as to what had triggered that disaster. Even so, it was clear that the instability of the hillside had played a major role. The aftermath of the tragedy saw a massive cleanup operation, with the priority being to locate any survivors and recover the bodies of those who had perished. Repairs on the highway were swiftly undertaken, and despite the enormity of the task, they were completed June 19th of 2010 and normal traffic flow was restored. But the memory of the disaster will remain with all who were involved for quite a long time. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now. Number 9. Time-lapse of debris flow. Witness the astonishing power of nature as time-lapse footage captures the aftermath of Tropical Storm K in the picturesque San Bernardino County, California. In a remarkable display of force, a staggering 2.4 inches of rain would descend upon the area in a mere hour's time. Thanks to the diligent work of the San Bernardino County Public Works, we can now witness the dramatic consequences of this torrential downpour. A riveting clip would reveal the relentless onslaught of mud cascading through Birch Creek, swiftly engulfing everything in its path. Tragically, a nearby home was no match for the unrelenting flood of the debris flow, resulting in some substantial damage. The aftermath of this catastrophic event would leave a devastating toll in its wake. 16 properties were reduced to ruins, leaving their owners grappling with immense loss. Sadly, a 62-year-old Forest Falls resident would lose her life as the debris flow struck her house. Number 8. Massive mudslide pours into valley. The so-called Great Valleys of Tajikistan are a pretty impressive sight to behold at the best of times. They're enormous and epic in all the things that you would hope for in a landscape. They're also totally unspoiled on the account of their position in a country in Central Asia that is not exactly a tourism hotspot. This video from back in 2017 shows the moment that an absolutely gargantuan mudslide crashes across one of the Great Valleys, at the border between Tajikistan and its neighboring country of Kyrgyzstan. It really is incredible just how much stuff there is, and totally terrifying how fast it appears to be moving. The flow of mud and debris from the mountains made its way across the river, and also managed to block a road which had joined the two nations. Now this is all mighty inconvenient, but it's also rather an extraordinary sight to see. Fortunately, nobody would be caught in the flow, so there were no immediate injuries reported that related to the mud. Unfortunately though, all of that mud had also managed to cause a rather major blockage, which ultimately led to flooding further down the river. These pesky landslides can be quite the nuisance, really. Number 7. The Sierra Leone Landslide, Florida. Coastlines of countries are understandably vulnerable to landslides. Florida's combination of weather, weak sedimentary deposits, extreme rainfall, and steep slopes and bluffs give the perfect recipe for disaster. On 14th August in 2017, there was unusually high rainfall in Sierra Leone in Florida, 20 inches more than in previous years. The soil could only absorb so much before reaching breaking point. That breaking point usually comes in the form of a runoff, but in this case, it went into cracks and crevices and lubricated the ground on top of a hill. Eventually, a slab of unstable earth was pulled down by gravity and came crashing down, trees and all. The deadly landslide came crashing down, and a torrent of dirty brown water flooded the streets of Sierra Leone in Florida. According to relief aides, more than 600 people went missing, and about 300 were found dead. More bodies were found washed up on the beach. Landslides tend to occur over and over in the same location. simply because every landslide just makes the land more vulnerable and unstable. Any area composed of a very weak or fractured materials resting on a steep slope can and will likely experience landslides. Though the whole thing was over in just a few seconds, the aftermath was felt for a lot longer. Landslides can be prevented, however, with good engineering practices and effective land use management. Number 6. Major rock fall. Now here's a video that will make your palms really sweaty. A daring rock climber in Spain almost met his maker while forging a new climbing path. Stefan Barthol was feeling pretty good about himself as he neared the summit of a treacherous cliff face. That was until he hit a major snag. Trying to grab onto the next section with his pick, he instead unleashed a massive rock slide that would make even Indiana Jones proud. Suddenly, a massive chunk of the cliff would break off and then tumble down to the bottom, where it landed harmlessly in some shrubbery. Luckily, he was able to swing out of the way just in time to avoid being squashed like a bug. The person filming the entire thing could only utter a breathless "whoa" before following the tumbling boulders all the way down to the ground. It was like watching a giant game of Jenga, but with real-life consequences. Let this be a lesson to all of you aspiring rock climbers out there. You should never mess with Mother Nature, or you may end up hitting rock bottom. Number 5. Avalanche crashes down Turkish mountains. In a stunning display of the forces of nature, a massive avalanche unfolded. This dramatic footage showcases the overwhelming power of the avalanche as it cascades down a steep mountain, creating quite the spectacle. The avalanche has been attributed to a combination of warm weather and rainfall that had swept across some mountains located in the Black Sea coast of eastern Turkey. The melting accumulated snow, due to these conditions, set the stage for what had followed. In the video, you can see the swift descent of snow, ice, and rocks rapidly tumbling down the slopes of the mountain at a high speed. You definitely would not want to be in the path of this mess of collapsing landscape, and getting out alive would be nothing short of a miracle. Number 4. Big Sur, California. This one was caught on a camera all the way from space. That's how big it was. Jaw-dropping before and after satellite images of the California coastline were released in 2017. The landslides sent over 1 million tons of rocks and dirt across Highway 1 that overlooks the Pacific Ocean. It occurred on 20th May of 2017, but there was a smaller landslide earlier in the spring before this one. It's possible that the smaller landslides caused the big one that changed the coastline of the state, which wouldn't be uncommon. Much of California's coastline is vulnerable and open to collapse, but luckily these areas are not so populated. We've moved a tremendous amount of material here, tens, if not 100,000 yards. The destruction covered about 0.3 miles of the highway and caused 16 acres of land to jut out of the Big Sur coastline. It caused Highway 1 to close for a year while work was underway. While it's open now, it isn't any less risky. Even today, there are still small rocks coming down, and you can hear it. Bonus clip. Cliff collapses into water, so it turns out that deadly rock falls and cliff collapses, and such can occur even when you're out having fun. I know it's super rude, but nature, it would appear, does not really give a chuff if you're on vacation. These people were out messing about in boats, well, kayaks for all of you pedants, on Lake Superior in Michigan when they had a bit of a surprise encounter with the unpredictable methods of the natural world. They would be exploring the beauty of Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore in northern Michigan. However, their excursion took an unexpected turn when a rather sizable chunk of cliff then decided to take a spontaneous dip into Lake Superior, narrowly missing them. Standing tall at an impressive height of around 200 feet, the sandstone cliffs of the area provide a stunning backdrop for any nature enthusiast. Prior to the major cliff collapse, there had been some smaller rock falls within the vicinity, causing a bit of excitement. Feeling that they were at a safe distance from the crumbling cliffs, the group then continued their kayaking, blissfully unaware of what would happen next. As fate would have it though, just as they were leisurely paddling away, a large section of the cliff decided to make its grand entrance into the water, missing them by a mere 50 feet. Fortunately, everyone escaped unharmed, and their adventure continued with an added adrenaline rush. Number 3. Gilgit. Baltistan, Pakistan. In October of this year, a particularly heavy monsoon in Pakistan caused a landslide to come crashing down on a passenger bus. It killed 16 people, including 4 Pakistan Army officials. Like we said before, monsoons in South Asia are unforgiving. In 2020, Pakistan saw heavy rainfall, resulting in 400 people dead, 390 injured, and 217,000 homes wholly or partially destroyed. During August and early September, they were also severely hit by urban flooding, leading to high death and injury count and over 300,000 homes destroyed. The Sindh area in Pakistan feels the worst of this, and it was even declared an emergency on 25th August of this year. The landslide in this video occurred in the Gilgit-Baltistan region in the north, which has 4 great mountain ranges close together, all prone to landslides. The bus was pushed into a ditch along the road in Skardu and buried under mud and rock. This video shows the relief efforts that followed, but the authorities said the chances of finding anyone alive are slim. Number 2. Cliff erosion threatens homes. Now I know there will be some of you who have, jokingly I'm sure, said that you hope that California will break off and fall into the sea. But I know you don't really mean it. I mean, what would happen to all those bears? And when you see these dramatic images that reveal the precarious situation that's faced by residents of Pacifica, California, as their apartments teeter on the brink of plunging into the ocean, I know you wouldn't wish for them to drop off into the Pacific. It was actually so bad that in response to the escalating danger, a local state of emergency had to be declared. The relentless force of El Niño-driven winds had caused approximately 20 feet of land near a bluff to erode and collapse into the ocean within the space of just 2 weeks. Consequently, authorities in Pacifica had no choice but to declare a group of apartments unfit for habitation, permitting residents only to briefly return to retrieve their belongings. Perhaps California really will just break away and fall into the ocean one day. Number 1. Thistle, Utah. Thistle in Utah is, at best, a ghost town in Spanish Fork Canyon. In April 1983, a massive landslide dammed the Spanish Fork River. An 85 million meter cube of water backed up, flooding the small town. Thistle was destroyed entirely, but the residents were able to evacuate. Only a few structures managed to survive, but barely. Populations downstream from the dam were at risk because of the possible overtopping of the landslide by the lake. This would have caused a catastrophic outburst of the dam with a massive flood downstream. Federal and state governments commented that was perhaps the costliest landslide in history, with $200 million being spent to fix it. What caused it was unseasonably warm weather, leading to rapid snowmelt to saturate the slope. During the rebuilding, a drain system was engineered to drain the lake and avert the potential disaster. You can still see some remains of this ghost town if you drive along the US 89 highway or the California Zephyr passenger train. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.